Well, that box is getting more and more empty every day. This motor box, these servo boxes are empty. They've already been put in. That's an ESC for the electronics part. I should probably put that over there with the other electronics that are here. These are unused parts, like the linkages that came with it for the servos and stuff. There's the prop for it. This is the landing gear with the landing gear screws and stuff and landing gear wheels. 2 pods I haven't glued on yet. 2 booms covers for the tail booms, and a spinner for the back that I don't know if I'm going to put on or not. So this box is almost empty. And we're over here ready to do the tail. These are the 2 tail booms. One of them I've got the 1/8 inch stereo jack just test fitted into. The other one I've got over here to start getting those wires glued into them. I'm not sure if I'm going to use epoxy. I think I'm going to use epoxy. I think the Yoo-hoo pour is so elastic it would kind of stretch on me. But I've got all the tail parts here. The 2 tail sections with servos. The little metal connector that holds them at a 45. The little 4 pieces that go in the back of each tail. So that metal piece, in the back of each tail, so that metal piece can be screwed on. It does the 45. And then the connectors on the end to hold it on the tail boom and covers for that. That's all there really is to the screws over here for all of that stuff. That's all there really is to this tail section. I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to get done. It's Saturday. My wife's coming back. Went to the doctor yesterday. He completely cleared me of pneumonia. Wednesday, we're going back to Disney World for a week for the Festival of the Arts. We've never gotten to go to that. This time of the year for the past 30 years, my wife's been deep in the middle of a semester at school and could not leave. So we're going to go to the Festival of the Arts for the first time in our lives, which we're looking forward to. It's only the 56th year of that festival. So that gives me basically Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to work on this at all. So I'm not sure I will get a video out before I get back. But you won't hear this until I get back either way, unless I finish this tail through some miraculous means, which I sincerely doubt. So we're back in the assembly instructions here. Let's head down to... This is some of the parts I was talking about. This holds the tail at a V angle. This is some of the parts I didn't use. I used my own push rods and linkages. I've got a piece coming I think you're going to enjoy for the camera in the front. I think I've changed from the Walk Snell Moon, whatever it's called. So I may have to modify the holes in this, so I'm not going to be putting this on as soon as I thought I was. Thought I was ready to do it till I ordered something special for the front. There's our wing assembly. I also haven't put these bolts in the couplers. Boy, it shows those pieces are different lengths there. I didn't notice that. Lordy. And like I say, I haven't installed these because I don't know what may go under them. Can't glue them down until I know that. So here we are, tail assembly. These are the pieces I showed you. Should have laid them out like this, shouldn't I? So there's going to be some gluing in here, it looks like. Oh well, such be life. Not real thrilled about that. I wonder if there's a piece of foam that goes over the top of it, like on the Sky Hunter 1800s. was a little more satisfied with those than just gluing this. Glue boom anchors onto rudder vaders as shown. Wow, rudder vaders. I wonder if that's in Ardu. I was going to call it VTEL in Ardu. VTEL right, VTEL left. No, I don't. Glue inner boom anchor cover onto anchor and rudder vader as shown. Glue servo wire along the channel. Wish that wire went down this. It's with the boom coming in. I don't want the wire in the way. Have to look at that. We'll see what happens with that over there on the parts. Here's what I was talking about, the plastic pieces that go in here and a nut goes inside of them, and this glues the tail in a 45, and then we're on to tail booms. That's simple, but I haven't done the booms themselves yet. I guess the booms aren't supposed to be glued into these. That's cool. Final assemblies after that. This is what I worry about, how I do that. And just because of my expertise isn't always outstanding. So, we'll get started on this tail section here and hope I do well with it. I understand it. It's just I've always colored outside the lines and cut wood 2 or 3 times because I get it crooked. I'm just not very artistic when it comes to fine work like some people are. But that always gives everything I build a signature of my own. Okay, let's get started. Well, the first thing I need to do is put the servo horn on, get it centered, glue the servo down, and connect the push rod. I don't know what's going on with these servos they sent me. They don't have a single control arm. I'm going to have to cut 3 ears off of this one to put on here to have a single, because this can't go in the foam. Wow, this is crazy. Well, there's one of the control horns with 3 of the ears cut off to give me what I need to put down in there for a single surface control horn. I'm shocked. Well, I cut the servo horns to a single arm. God, that still just shocks the daylights out of me. And then I hot glued them both into the, I'm going to call it V-tails. It's upside down V-tails, I know. So they're tilde tails. So I'm going to let that dry, set up, cure, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to put on these 4 plastic parts with Yoo-hoo pour, and then glue in these control horns. There's the 4 little plastic pieces glued in so that they can hold the nuts for the screws that will go through to hold the 2 tail pieces together. I probably should have done that before I put the servo horns on, but it's just gently setting on the servo horns. I'm going to let that set up for a few hours before I turn it over and glue these control horns in. Okay, this is going more quickly than I thought. I put the control horns on, but I haven't put the push rods and linkages on. And I went ahead and sanded the couplers for the tail booms and glued them to the edge of the V-tail tilde tail where they need to be, and I clamped it. And I'm going to let that set for till tomorrow. It's 5 or 6 o'clock Saturday, so I won't be doing any more on this until tomorrow. I'm going to let that yoo-hoo pour on those parts cure up, and then the only thing left to do is put these 2 pieces on each side of this. There's another 2 there, and then bolt them together with this. So this is going to go much more quickly than I thought, and this video is also going to run a lot longer than I wanted it to. Sorry about that. And while I was watching glue dry, I just went ahead and bolted the wing to the fuselage. This, as one viewer said, is a big creature. Huge. Like I told him, I hope it flies at least 5 flights before it crashes and breaks. And again, while I was bored waiting on glue to dry, I should be doing this, I'm just making my video longer, I went in and looked at all of the options, including the disabled, that you can set a RC channel to. There's not a rudder vader option. There's 127 items in this list right here. And the only ones I really think are pertinent will be V-tail left, V-tail right. Even though it's an inverted V-tail, these are the 2 that I think I'll be using. I'll be trying those for starters, and of course I'll put it in stabilized and see how it reacts when moved a little bit in your hands here in the shop, and make sure it's reacting correctly, even though it is an inverted V-tail. I'm going to look around the documentation for more on Arduplane inverted V-tail setup. But so far, my theory is correct. It's going to be just set up as a V-tail. Just as I suspected, I quickly found in the documentation talking about V-tail planes, a common alternative to a traditional elevator and rudder is a V-tail. Or an A-tail. I'll call it an A-tail from now on instead of a tilde tail. An upside down V-tail. And it does say down here, A-tail planes with A-tail planes and inverted V-tail. The control surface movements referenced above should still be in the same directions. In other words, compensation in stabilized mode for when you drop the nose. The A-tail should go up. When you raise the nose, the A-tail should go down, and when you roll the plane to the right, the A-tail, actually the A-tail will move like a rudder at that time because of servo mixing, which it talks about down at the bottom. But if it yaws, it will try to correct. If it yaws the nose to the left, then the tail should move to the right. The A-tail should. It's likely that the servo reversal or function will be opposite from a similar V-tail setup. Talking up here. And then down here it talks about how to mix gains. This is just for pitch, though. No yaw or roll. Oh, this is yaw, yeah. Yaw and pitch. But anyway, that confirms to me that it's just going to be an A-tail airplane and be set up exactly like a V-tail. Well, there's the push rod and linkages installed. The only thing left to do is to install the bolts and nuts through the couplers on each side. Put the 2 halves around each coupler and bolt them together in an A-tail shape. Okay, I put the nut portion of the bolts and nuts for the couplers in with just a little yoo-hoo pour around the outside of them. Hope I didn't get any on the inside. Oops, I may have on that one. I have to stick a toothpick in it real quick. But it won't bind up the screw that much, and it will kind of work as Loctite. Not sure that I'll ever take the tails off the tail booms. Haven't quite figured that out yet. But I've got to let that sit to dry for a little bit. And then these two go around these couplers to kind of lock them up. Also on these covers here, this portion of the plastic here kind of sticks out from underneath them. They do wrap around this, so I'm going to have to sand this rounded area, and on the back sand this area, rough it up so it'll bond well. Got most of the U-hoop ore out of that one. That one looks pretty good. So I'll set those aside again to dry. Now, this coupler does have a channel in it right here for the servo cable. Problem is I don't like that. Because it kind of puts that servo cable right in the way where if you were to take these tail sections off the booms frequently, you can scrape those insulation on that servo cable and have it short out on the carbon fiber and cause problems. That's one reason I may fix, not glue, but just tighten down the bolts on this portion of the couplers and leave the two booms sticking out. I don't know quite yet. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to put the servo cable down through this. I'm going to let these two pieces here and here capture that servo cable, and that way it will be protected from touching the boom as it comes through. So it will be right through the center of this here, and I think I can just pinch it in there without making any kind of channel for it and stuff, and it'll work fine. But I'm not going to use the pre-made channel that they put in this one. I just don't trust that it won't get the insulation torn and cause problems. And if I do it this way with it inside here, then I can take the screws, loosen them, and slide this off the booms if I want. So I'm going to do it that way, and I'm going to see how it seems afterwards, and that's when I'll decide if the tail actually comes off the booms or not. I think in one way it would be nice for the tail to come off the booms. Then you could stick them up in the front couplers with that 1/8 inch stereo connector to push it up in there, and then tighten them down, and then put the tail on. With those two booms completely separate, it might be easier putting them in the front in the wings than trying to slide a piece that's both booms and the tail section into the front at the same time, especially for a single person. If there were a couple of people out at the field with me, then that might be different. Anyway, I'm just going to have to put it together and then make a decision afterwards. So I'm going to be sanding all these surfaces for gluing here, including inside here where the couplers going to glue on each side, and I'm going to be gluing the rounded part of these couplers, sanding the rounded part of those couplers for gluing. Okay, I'm gluing this half of the tail piece, the sides that capture the coupler, to the actual rudder elevator. I don't know what you'd call half of this. It's an A tail when it's all put together, but right now it's a I guess. I don't know, whatever. But the coupler right here is where I'll glue. And just right now I'm just gluing inside this little channel for the coupler, and I am running glue across the bottom of this because that matches up with the outside. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So it's easy for the coupler to fit in there. It just fits in the slot real easy. But what you've got here is, when this is finished, this part of the rudder vader will be up, and this will kind of be perpendicular to the ground. So this right here is the seam on top that'll be seen by everybody. That's why this surface gets glued and attached to this surface right here. Kind of make it one. And that, on the other one, it was worse than this one because of that channel they put into it, I guess. This right here, where this comes together, this one's staying more round than the other one did. I had to put some blue painter's tape on the other one. Anyway, you end up with this seam and basically the coupler glued in. Then you come back, glue all this, and then enclose the coupler completely. Now I'm going to show you right now another little problem I've got. Notice how far that servo wire sticks out of that? Nothing. You're not going to be able to turn that around and plug that into the end of that boom. Never. So yesterday I ordered some servo extensions. They're 2 inches, 2.5 inches. I'll have to connect it to this and make a little U and plug into the back of that boom where the servo plugs in. So once all of this is glued shut like it is, we have pretty much the tail completed, except for putting 2 screws through here, through nuts in the back here, and attaching them together with this angle iron basically. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this one up real quickly. What I'm talking about for attaching this servo wire, which that's all the lengths I've got. Can't get any more length back there through any means. As you can see, it's coming out the servo, going over there. There's only so much right there. When that 1/8 inch jack on one end of a tail boom goes into the connector in the front, click, then back here you've got a, it's hard to see in here, back here you've got a servo, basically the female part. I don't have it flush out with the end right here yet. It all, well, there you go. We'll just let it sit, look like that. That's where you're going to plug. That's where you're going to plug that servo wire right there into. And that's what's not long enough. So, with that said, I'm going to sand up these parts, put the foam on the coupler like I've done with this one over here. I got this one squeezed this way with the clamp. It's a piece of balsa wood. I use that on the other part too. Anyway, on the wing. And then the bottom part's right against the nylon, plastic, whatever that coupler's made out of, holding that together. But this right here, and we'll see how this works when I pull this off. It's supposed to be round, but the foam around the coupler and the wing didn't quite come together there. I hope I got that pulled up enough to make it look nice, but we'll see in 24 hours what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and glue and clamp this one, let it set. That's all I'm going to do is glue that one piece. This is the part for this that will go. This is the part for this one over here that will go on like this when that one glues. Just easier to glue them together. Then I'm going to put 2 pieces of balsa wood on each side of this so I don't mar this stuff right here, and clamp that up, and that'll be easy tomorrow. Well, it's Monday morning. It's way too early for me. These parts dried overnight, cured. So now, next to the last step, I have to glue this up, put it on this side of both tails, and after that cures, screw the 2 tails together with this. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this early this morning, whether I like it or not, so that maybe this evening I can finish it up. There, that's done. Too early in the morning for me. I ended up taking the servo wire out the top, and I'll put it back through here with something later. But that's the way I did it. It's about 9:30 a.m. in the morning. I shouldn't do this stuff so early in the day, but it'll cure till 9 p.m. or so tonight, and then I'll screw those 4 screws in, and the tail section will be finished. And then Pam and I are going to go back to Disney World Wednesday for a week, as still part of celebrating my 70th birthday and her retirement. So I won't be doing anything more on it after I screw the 2 tail sections together tonight. But I'll show you a video of that when that's finished. Okay, I got ahead of myself. There's the tail section finished. And you can see, like I said, I brought the servo wires out the top just to take care of them later with tape or something. It's just a problem because they're so short. This tacked up quicker than I thought it would, and so I just went ahead and screwed the 2 tail sections together. So there it is, finished. I'm not going to do any more on the airplane before we go on vacation. So when we get back from vacation, I'll be doing the final assembly. Alright guys, thank you all. Oh, and by the way, it should look something like that when it's finished.